I have made videos about animating in Photoshop and even Procreate before. Today, I'll be making a video about how to animate in Clip Studio Paint. What I like about Clip Studio Paint is that it has a lot of features built in already, so there is no need to worry whether it's lacking something you're looking for or not. First of all, what you need is a drawing tablet. You can use a Wacom or you can just use a mouse. Alternately, you can download Clip Studio Paint on your iPad. The iPad version, however, is a subscription-based payment, unlike the PC version, which has a one-time purchase. I do not like subscription-based payment very much because paying every month gives me anxiety. So what I did is that I brought the PC version and mirrored my PC screen to my iPad so that my iPad would behave like a Wacom because my Wacom tablet is broken. I made this video about how I mirrored my PC to my iPad before. Although the video was made 4 years ago, I'm still using the same app, Easy Canvas, so it didn't age too poorly. Second, in order to animate in Clip Studio Paint, you need the program. Now, there is different version of Clip Studio Paint. There is Clip Studio Paint Pro and there is Clip Studio Paint X. The Pro version lacks more feature than the X version. In the Pro version, you can only animate up to 24 frames, unlike in the X version that has unlimited frame limitations. The benefit of the Pro version is that it's cheaper than the X version. This means you can buy the Pro version to test the program out and decide if you like the program enough that you want to upgrade it from Pro to X or not. In the website, there is an option to purchase a discounted upgrade. It is what I did before as well. I used to use the Pro version just to draw on it for illustrations, but then I decided I wanted to start animating in this program more as well, so I upgraded it from Pro to X. In order to be sure about your purchase decision on whether you want to continue using the program or not, I would suggest testing out the free trial of the program or buying the Pro version first before upgrading to X just to make sure you don't waste money. I'll be using the X version in this video. However, you can test out the animation features in Pro version as well. The only difference is that there will be the limitation of 24 frames in the Pro version. First off, when you create a new file, there is different ways you can select the project. I would choose animation over here. There are different presets you can use. I would suggest to just go with 1920 to 180. Another important part about this is to choose what frame rate do you want. For now, I'm just gonna go with 12 frame rate. Once you create this, you will notice that there is this border. Now, you might wonder, why is this border here? Why is this different from the usual canvas? So this border is actually the size of the canvas over here. This is what's gonna appear in the animation. And this part is just an extra. So maybe if you draw a character and then you wanna move them around, you have some extra space to work with. Next, the most important thing here is that you need to have this timeline panel over here, this panel. This is where you will be editing your animation. If you do not have this timeline, the way to enable or open it is going to the window above here. You can see timeline right there. I will go through each of the buttons real quick. The first button you see over here, this is edit timeline. It just make it to where you can put like your mouse on the canvas, and when you move it, gonna move the red part over here. The red part is where you're selected in this timeline. But I don't really use this button very much because you can just scroll. Scroll by clicking on the frame number up here. Next is new timeline. Now, I don't use this often either because usually you don't need that many timelines. You only need one. But if you want, you can create more than one timeline. Like this, create two. You can change between the first timeline to the second one. In the beginning, when I first tried this program out, I created 2 timelines and I was confused on what this does. And in reality, you only really need one, so just keep on one. Next part is the usual zoom in, zoom out, play, go to next frame, previous frame, go to the end of the frame. This is if you use YouTube, you probably know how to use it. It's the usual stuff. Here's where it matters a lot. These are probably the most important buttons. The most important one is new animation cell, the second button. So you can see this is the first cell chosen, and then if I move the selected part to 2 and click new animation cell, you can see what appears before it's gone, and then I move to the next frame, and now a new panel has been created. So I'm just gonna write 2 over here. This is 1. Let me just delete this what's in this canvas and replace it with 1. So it's just gonna be 1 and 2. So when I move the cursor, it's gonna change to what frame I'm on. So now that I click play, it's just gonna play to 1, 2 into really fast. I can keep doing this. I can go to the next one, create new, write 3, or I can just press it and then it's gonna go to 4 and then 5, and I'll just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you can see that now, and that's it. You did it. You made an animation at the end of the tutorial. Okay. Yes, you can. Like, this is the main thing that you really need to know about, but to explain it more, now I can click on 6 and then I can hold the 6 in this timeline panel and move it to frame number 10, and you can see that there is a lot more empty space between the two. And when I click play, you can see that 5 lasts for longer, because now that there is this much space in between the two, the 5 occupies this space of the frame, and I can just move each frame however I want and time them out. Now, cells are layers, but layers aren't cells. So what I meant is that if I go to frame number 10, for example, I can link this cell with a layer. So when I click this button up here, this panel gonna appear, and this means I can link a layer from here, which is indicated by this, onto the cells down there. So for example, I want to show layer 1 in here, in this frame. Now layer 1 gonna appear as a cell in the timeline. Now when I play this, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then go to 1 again. On the flip side, I can right click on my mouse for this to appear right away, and then I can just assign the layer to that frame how I want. So boop 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 boop, random numbers everywhere. That is assign cell to frame. And the next button is remove cell. So if I click this and I click remove cell, as you can see, the layer is not deleted. The layer is still there. It's just the layer is not assigned to the cell anymore. So while cells are layers, but layers aren't cells. So if you delete 3, I can right click here and click delete over here. 3 from the layer is not gone, but 3 from the cell is gone. I hope that's not too complicated to understand. And now I can explain animation folder. You put all of the layers that you want to put in your timeline or in the animation folder. Like I can click create new animation folder up here, and it will appear both in the layers panel and in the timeline. So now when I hit new animation cell, boom, you can see this is on top of each other. It behaves like normal layers. And now if I put like a red ball right here, you can see that this red circle is above everything. It's above 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like a layerception, you know, like an inception of different layers together. It's not hard to understand, but it might be confusing at first. But that's basically what animation folder is. You need an animation folder so that you can put all the layers into the animation folder, and then you can assign these layers into the frame on the timeline to make things move. Now, what does that mean for normal layers? Now, when you create a normal layer, when I create a layer inside of this normal layer, you can see that instead of me being able to create new animation cell or assign cell, it just stacks on normally. Unlike animation folder. Normal folder can be helpful. For example, if I want to use this normal folder for a background, like I can rename this as like BG, where I basically keep all the background that I don't want it to move. And yes, I can hold on to things in the timeline and move them up and down too. And then when, for example, I want to make yes, as you can see, things inside or in the folder group here, it's not gonna move. For example, like this, like the line art of the background, and this is like the color of it. So boop. So now this is a layer, this is a layer within a group, but it's not a cell. Layerception. And another thing is you can actually group 2 animation folder into a normal folder as well. So now if I want to make things visible and not visible, I can group it up. Next, onion skinning. This button over there. Now for example here, there is 6, 7, 8. And in 7, there's nothing inside. And then you can click the onion skinning to see what is before it. Blue is the frame before, which is 6. And green is the frame after, which is 8. So now I'm like, oh, so 7 is in between. I can see this with every frame. If you click animation up there and show animation cells and then onion skin setting, it's gonna appear where you can choose to show even more frames. Like I can click show 3 frame instead of just 1. And when I click that, I can see even more frame. And that is onion skinning. Now you can see some button out here which is keyframing. I'm not sure if it would be too complicated for some of you guys, but I will show what it does. Basically you click this button, enable keyframe on this layer. It will have this weird up, up, down, down, up, down, down. So I go to move tool, I move this whole thing left here, and then I go to this frame and I move it to the right, and this blue square gonna open. When I play, it's gonna move like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from left to right. And if I go in the middle as well over here and I move the whole thing up, it's gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in that arc order rule. So that's how keyframe works. You can edit layers with active keyframe, and what this means is that you can edit what is in the layer on its original position before you keyframed it. So it's a cool little feature, and I don't want to go in too deep on it, but here's a little thing is that this grab editor, if you hit this, for those who don't know, it's gonna look very scary, but this is for the keyframe as well. This can basically adjust the speed of the keyframe. I'm not gonna talk about this much right now, but I want to tell you that if you accidentally click this grab editor and then this turns on and you're like, what is going on? Just make sure you click this grab editor again to go back to normal timeline. And here's a tiny little tips. You can right click on the animation folder to change the timeline size. So I can click here, go to large, and then I can see what's inside each of the frame. Right here, there's gonna be a preview. Now, I don't really need that, so I just click none and I can't see any of that. But if you want it, you can adjust it as you want. And that's basically the main thing about the timeline layer. Now, I know what people is curious about. What brush are you using? Right? Okay, I basically used a turnip pen. What I did is I duplicate this subtool. I rename it as animation pen. I click OK. And then what I did is I didn't change much. I just click on this double check here to have more setting. In this pen pressure setting, I turn this up and down, basically making the curve look like this. Now this edit it to where if this was the original turnip pen, the lowest amount of pressure will be very thin, and when I press onto it, it will be very thick. Well, not that thick, but pretty different. But what I did there with the pen pressure setting is that the lowest that I press and the highest that I press is not that different from each other. It went from this to this. And that's my animation pen. Now, why is this important? The reason I do this is because when you're animating, I'm drawing this line. Okay, I'm drawing the next line, and I'm drawing the next line, and I'm creating another one. Bloop, bloop, bloop. The line needs to be similar. But if I use like the original turnip pen, and I might like, especially if I'm not that good at drawing, it would be like, okay, I made one line, next one. I make another line, next one. I make another line. And then you're gonna play this through. And then you're gonna notice that each of the lines look very different from each other because the turnip pen has a pressure and it can be stylish, but it's gonna be very inconsistent. So my animation pen is not very special. It's just a pen. It's like the most normal kind of pen there is. Next, I have a tip to give, and that is the shortcut. there are buttons that are very important in this animation creation thingy, and that is to create the new animation cells. I'm lazy on clicking on that tiny button every single time. So what I did is I go to File, Shortcut Setting, and then I go here, where there's gonna be this animation tab over here in the menus command, and this one over here, New Animation Cell. I click Edit Shortcut, and I put it as Num+. You can use anything that you like. Personally, for me, I like the plus button because in my keyboard it's big, it's easy to press, and I just hit boop, plus, and there's this satisfying feeling of like me clicking on this button and then boom, new layer, boom, next layer, boom, next one. And like this is so much easier now that I have the shortcut more than just pressing on that tiny button. Another shortcut that I really like is previous frame and the next frame. So back in this shortcut setting, down over here, go to previous frame and go to next frame. I set it as minus and equal. And when I press minus, you can see the red selection over here. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah. So another shortcut, this is personally a very important shortcut to me, and that is assign multiple cell. The reason this shortcut is important to me is because during my thesis animation project, what I had to do is I drew my animation on Procreate, and I didn't want to color in Procreate because coloring in Clip Studio Paint was easier. So I wanted to import my animation on Procreate onto Clip Studio Paint. What I did is that I saved my Procreate file as PSD, because if I save it as PSD, which is short for Photoshop file, then I can open that Photoshop file in Clip Studio Paint as well. After I did that, I opened the file in Clip Studio Paint, and then it's gonna look pretty messy because every single frame is shown in a single page. So it doesn't look very good, I'm sorry about this. You see, it would be trouble if I want to assign every layer that I have here onto the cell. If I do the original method I told you, which is right-clicking and linking the thing, or clicking that tiny button and linking each and individual one of them, that would take me centuries. It would take me forever. So there is a shortcut for that. If you click on the file shortcut setting again, and then you go here, assign multiple cells, and edit shortcut, I put it as Shift C, and then when I click that, this wonderful panel appears where I can assign the value and then press that OK, and then bam, all of the thing in order in the timeline panel. It saved me so much time, and I'm glad I tried to look through the shortcut button to see if there is like a way to do that automatically. Thank God there is a way to do it automatically. And now that I did that, as you can see, now I just made another animation folder, and then I can go to the fill tool and make sure that you have referred to multiple. Boop, 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 boop. So easy. It's so convenient. And then everything just start getting filled in. It's very satisfying. It's probably my favorite part of the process in the animation. My leg is numb. Send help. Oh my god. Alright, and here now I will show this quick animation I made on Clip Studio Paint alone. Here is the order of creating the animation. First, what I did is I drew the sketch of the animation, draft the thing down on this one animation folder, and then I create another animation folder. I call it line art, and then I just drew over it, make the thing looks better. I separated the hair and the line art together because it's easier to draw the hair. And then after I'm done with the line art, I put in the base color. I did separate each part of the body though. I separated the skin, the hair color, the base, and everything. The reason I did that is because when I use the clipping mask on the color layers, I can change the entire color in that specific color part. yes, in Clip Studio Paint, you are allowed to use clipping mask on folders, so the entire animation folder can be masked, which is awesome. Lastly, I did the background, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Now, this is not video editing program, so you can't really generate a particle. So you have to draw it yourself. So I just did a terrible job of drawing these flower petals manually. But then it works somehow, kinda. So there it is, flower petals. Lastly, I just added a bit of overlay. So I just put pink on top, and then I clicked on that layer, and then I clicked overlay, and boom. And then it might not look that different, but it was already pink, but it's more pink now. I don't know why I wanted to look that pink, but sure. And then the next step that you can try is the keyframing one. Now I will try to use the keyframe on this cloud. Let me rename this as cloud. And I turn this cloud on this one panel. I set my tool to move the cloud on a bit like this. And then I go to the last frame over here. Then I move the cloud a bit like this. Then what you will see is the cloud will move. I can even group the entire thing over here and call it the body. And I can assign the keyframe onto this layer. I can move the whole body. It will be quite laggy at first though. Lastly, exporting. Now, when it comes to exporting, you just have to click File, Export Animation. There are different options over here. There's Image Sequence, which is important if you want to export each individual frame to other editing program like After Effects. Movies is the most normal one. You just export the animation as is. It will export what is inside of the border only. It will not export the part that's outside of the border. So make sure that the thing you want to be exported is inside of this border. And that's pretty much it for the animation. Thank you for watching this video. Oh yeah, I forgot to set this, but that was an animation I made back in some time ago on this video. It was also a head turn, and many years passed, so I figured out, well, I'm gonna make another animation video. Let's make it a head turn as well to see if I've gotten better or not. And hopefully I did. Hopefully it shows. And that's it. Thank you. Bye bye.